Two musicians, two continents, two rivers. Today we're meeting Tim and Rafa, working under the name Karhide and Deep Dive Sound, who turned the River Lech into a gateway to somewhere completely unexpected. You can read more on our Substack page on artmusicscience.substack.com. Now let's listen to them. So do you guys want to tell me something about you, who you are, and what you do?
Who should go first, Tim?
You go first, Rafa.
So, well, the first time I encountered sound art was like about 10 years ago. And that was when I went to an experimental festival in Sweden, which was called the Norberg Festival. So, and that was the first time I started to hear like experimental music, ambient and this kind of stuff. And it was really cool because there was this girl, she was cutting the hair of someone else, right, as a gig itself. And the sound of the scissors, they were actually going inside of the track. It was a sort of techno made with the girl cutting the hair to someone else. And I found that very interesting and something so different that made me start to think to make my own music. And that's when I went to do a degree and a master's in music production. And then from there, I founded field recording at the uni because some people, they were doing it. And then I started to make my ambient music. I started to travel a lot. I started to record the places where I was going, mostly very remote places in the world. And pretty much that was the backbone of my production. I started to use all these recordings I was having and starting to layering out and creating my ambient music, basically. And now I'm really happy because now I'm making my own events of ambient. I have my label and I just keep releasing music.
Well, congratulations. It's been an interesting trajectory for the past 10 years then. Tim, you want to tell us something about yourself and your musical activity?
Okay, where to start? Mine goes back a bit further. Late 80s, early 90s. I started kind of more down the sort of traditional being in a band route. Through the whole of the 90s, I was sort of played in bands, you know, toured around and, you know, kind of in the back of vans, sleeping on people's floors, doing all that kind of, it was very much kind of DIY. I started as a bass player, then became a guitar player, but I also all the way had an interest in sort of, in drum machines and samplers and things like that. And it kind of moved from bands into recording. So early 2000s, started getting into recording, doing all my kind of recordings kind of equipment built up. So got to the point where I could basically have a mobile studio from about 2002. I also up to about 2017, I ran a record label as well. And that was very much geared towards the kind of post-rock, math rock kind of area. By the kind of like 2017, I was kind of a bit burnt out from it. It's a lot of work. And so, yeah, it's kind of all that. And then I kind of got roped into Citizen Memory. Don't even know how many tracks I've actually submitted to Citizen Memory, but it's a lot.
Same here.
But then he was having problems with the way that the maps were working. The service he was using closed down. So I ended up basically one Christmas rewriting everything to do with the maps so that we could launch it. So yeah, just been around sort of music for a really, really long time. And it's just kind of what I do. Normally, I kind of get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I have a couple of hours before I work, doing my full-time job, which is a kind of a web developer at a large science organization. And I'll do a couple of hours before I start.
Yeah, I have to say I admire the discipline of waking up at 6
Yeah, exactly. It's such a good
putting
routine.
in 2 hours. Yeah. So what made you decide to, let's do another project? Why not? Why Flow? What attracted you?
So when I saw Flow, first of all, I really like the name of it. It just makes you feel like you can just, I don't know, just flow with your ideas, you know. And normally when I create music, I'm very intentional in what I do. It's just a way of my like manifesting my ideas. So I sort of find like some sort of harmony, you know, within that title. And also it sort of connects to memories. So, I don't know, like I was away, I was traveling when the project was running. So For me, the way I perceive the project is because I was living a completely different moment. And I was actually seeing a lot of rivers in the front of me. So I thought to myself, like, if I have to come out with an idea for this project, I should just see what I have in the front of me. So that's why it was the reason why I come out with the ideas of having like loads of wildlife around the track, because that's what I was actually seeing in the front of me. So it felt very natural and flow for me to actually add recordings of like hippos and hyenas, and because that's what I was actually experiencing at that moment. And I felt like preserving that memory into something alive was the best I could do, like sort of sound designing my own experience. Yeah.
The focus of the project was the River Lech, which is a river running between Austria and Germany. So it's not exactly the kind of scenario where you would expect to find hippos or hyenas, but it's also meant to be kind of a template of a river. Our flow is a flow in space and time. And the focus of the project is not actually that specific river, those specific renaturalization projects that are being done on the river, but it's more kind of a broader consideration of the relationship that we as humans have with the rivers, starting from there. So my understanding is that you brought that kind of consideration, that idea of relationships between nature and people, kind of you translated it into your own experience that you were living as the project was running, right?
Exactly. Was like my reimagined way of seeing a river.
How did you approach the process of creating your composition? I'm asking both of you.
Go on, Tim.
It was kind of an awkward one for us because Rafa was traveling. Basically, I did a lot of the music and sent the ideas to Rafa, and then we kind of found one we agreed on, and then basically we did a certain amount of backwards and forwards. I kind of created it in my head. It was kind of, I wanted something that kind of did flow and it wasn't disjointed and things like that. So I wanted it to be quite flowing to match the project and things like that. And so I went for some sort of quite minimal kind of ways of doing things. So it's got like a beat to it, but it's quite a relaxed kind of more in the background sort of beat, and kind of instrumentation. It's all around, I think mainly all around a single plugin that playing in between each other and things like that. So I sort of came up with those parts, and yeah, it was like I can't remember how many. I think I sent you a few different versions of things in our Rafa, and then we kind of agreed on the one to use. And then at that point, once we'd agreed it, it was kind of almost like a full track from my point of view. And then Rafa went away and then basically reimagined my track with basically what was in his mind at the time, which was kind of everything that he'd been going through for the couple of months while he'd been away in kind of Africa and stuff like that. And it just turned into this really cool, sort of quite chilled out, really nice to listen to sort of track.
Yeah, for me, I'm mixed feelings about the way I experience sometimes rivers and also the dams. So, for example, in Africa, one thing that was frustrating me a little bit was the fact that it's very important to have a dam going through a river, because it eventually gives light to all these communities and villages around. But at the same time, it transforms completely the habitat of the animals that they live within a river. And that applies for Europe, applies for Africa, anywhere in the world. So by building dams and actually providing electricity to everyone, it's cool. But at the same time, it changes so much the environment. And in terms of sound, it's brutal, because the sound of the dams, they are so high in sound that it transforms all the communication of the birds and all the animals around. So many times I was going into national parks in Africa and I thought like, wow, this is a beautiful place where I can record animals. And it was always this sound on the background, this hum of some electric dam going on. So yeah, I'm mixed feelings about things that people build within the river sites, you know.
It's an ethical dilemma.
Exactly, yeah.
Even the interventions on a highly industrialized river like the Lech, of the intervention of renaturalization are not always straightforward, because if there is a dam that is no longer used, what do? You kind of just blow it up, trying to restore what was there before, or leave it as it is, because maybe that dam created a reservoir where there are birds, fish, animals who kind of created their own habitat there.
Of course.
And again, if you don't have the kind of clean energy that comes from the dams, from hydropower plants, what are you going to do? Back to coal? So there's not a really straight answer, I think.
Exactly.
So you said that in your track, you integrated field recordings, both the one provided for your segment of the river, but also the field recordings taken by Rafa in Africa.
Yeah, like in that case, like at least I sort of took care of the part of the recording we had. And what I basically did is that I modulated quite as much as I could. And I sort of make like a drone background, like a bed for it. So the track, it's always there, but it's just on the background, creating this sort of like humming. And all the rest was mostly field recordings of animals I captured by the river.
Their composition is called Lo-Fi River Flow. Let's listen to it.